I think it really depends a lot on who that individual is, what their key is. For me, clearly the lesson I had to learn was that I needed my own product, my own say in things. I just have that independent spirit. Um, I also, I'm not against franchises. Like you said, they can be really good. I bought a Roof Max franchise with my son last or about a year and a half ago. And so that's great because he doesn't have that desire to build his own, have his own product and create everything, but he wanted to have his own independent thing. And so we partnered. He handles the day-to-day business. I help him market it, and I help him, just as a leader, helping him make decisions and things like that. But like, it's a great fit for him. It's great because he's done a really good job at it. He's grown that business really quickly, which has been awesome.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Ryan Spelts. And as a quick introduction to Ryan, so Ryan was a decent student in high school and a bit better in college, but didn't quite fit the college mold. Tried a few different types of courses and different degrees while I was in college, and then worked also during that time, worked in the marketing job and marketing and sales job for Cutco. And then made more in college than his teachers than the teaching profession he was thinking about going into did. So ended up getting a job after school with Cutco. Worked in direct sales with a variety of consumer goods for 20 years. And then when he turned 40, around 7 years ago, wanted to start selling his own stuff. So wasted about a year and a good amount of money before settling on the idea and what they're pursuing now. And he'll give us a bit more detail on that as well. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick walkthrough or an overview of a much longer journey and condensed in the 30-second version. So let's rewind and unpack that a bit. So tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in high school and college.
I think there's two types of people. Some people know what they want to be when they grow up, and then some people when they're 47 still don't know. And so that's that's where I'm at. But I really didn't have a path. I kept bouncing from different things. I knew I liked marketing. I was a marketing major for a while. I also knew I liked teaching people. I loved education and those things. So even though I eventually finished college, there was an interesting thing that happened. I got my tax return or my 1099 from Cutco from selling Cutco for the past, it wasn't even a full year. It was like nine months that I had sold Cutco. And then the next day in school, I was in education preparedness class, something about being a teacher, and they passed out the starting pay for teachers in Nevada. And I had made more selling Cutco part-time in the evenings than I was going to make for like the first 3 or 4 years with pay increases. And I was like, oh, that's terrible. And we lived in the worst part of Las Vegas. I was going to UNLV. And so I was like, we have to live here in this part of town forever? Like, that sounds terrible. So it kind of changed my path.
So now you said, okay, and I think teaching is admirable, but you certainly don't go into it for the vast majority of positions for the pay, and it's, for a different motivations. But I have several teachers within my family, and they do something that I can't, which is they sacrifice their pay for a greater purpose. And I say, hey, I'm willing to help other people out, but I want to get paid well for it. And so you come out of, you're coming out of school a bit and saying, okay, was gonna, considering going into teaching, going that direction, didn't necessarily work out or didn't go in that direction. So you come out, work for Cutco during school, and then I think you after school you continued to work for them and kind of do sales or management, or kind of clue us in as to after graduating, kind of where your journey took you.
Yeah, so I basically became a manager, which actually fulfilled the teaching part for me too, because the trainers or the managers at it's actually called Vector Marketing, which is the marketing arm for Cutco. But I mean, I was running trainings. I was a 22, 23-year-old kid, and I was running these trainings for people that were coming in to learn how to sell. And I was the number one sales rep previously in the Las Vegas area. And so they promoted me to be a branch manager. I became the number 10 branch manager in the nation in Salt Lake City. And then I moved back to Las Vegas and took over the district office. The district manager was there, got an opportunity to move to his hometown back in California. And so I took over Las Vegas, and we quickly became a successful office. And I was there for another 3 years before I moved. So that started my career as a sales trainer, as a leader, a manager. And I always think it's funny because people will say, well, oh, Cutco, I tried that when I was in college. I'm like, yeah, I tried it too. And I sold $3 million worth of this stuff. So it's a great place to learn how to sell, great place to learn how to be a leader and a manager, especially at a young age, because you just don't have experience like that.
No, and I think that's awesome, and I think that one of the things, or one of the skill sets that we often overlook and yet are really valuable in a lot of different industries, is the ability to sell, relate to people, or tell them about a product, be able to convince them that they need it and all those things, and not in a bad way. But any job you're in, you're going to be in the sales in this, whether as a lawyer, you're selling legal services, whether it's, you're working as an engineer and you're selling your boss on an idea and everything else. And so I think that sounds like it was a great training ground and a great place to get those skills. So now, as you're saying, okay, worked for Cutco for a period of time, after you left them and moved, where was the next phase on your journey?
So I actually started working for a mortgage slash real estate investment firm in Las Vegas. They were called Investment Lending and Redline Strategies, and we helped people who wanted to get into real estate investing, and we helped them either find properties, or helped them finance the properties, or we helped them learn strategies. We often played the game, I think it's called Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki, with groups, and we just introduced the idea of creating cash flow and passive income. And so as we went through that journey, it was a lot of fun. Actually made a lot of money, easier than I had made it or have since made it in a short period of time. But then the market crashed in 2007 in Las Vegas, 2008, short to follow here in Utah. And so it was a terrible crash, and I was licking my wounds and thinking, man, I actually had 5 houses at the time and had bought them all on the auctions and had really good equity in them, and that equity all vanished, and we were upside down in some of those houses. And so we were facing some pretty heavy things. And at the same time, my wife's father had been diagnosed with brain cancer. It would eventually take his life, but we decided that it was time to move, that Las Vegas didn't have anything holding us there. We were, not destitute, but we were, in bad shape. We didn't have a whole lot of money, and we had property, but you couldn't do anything with it. And then we decided to move to Utah, which my wife's from Honeyville, Utah. There's more cows than people there. And we moved to Ogden, which was semi-close. And so my kids could get to know their grandpa before he passed away. And so we moved up here. And when I got here, I started working for a little regional company called Living Scriptures. Living Scriptures is like an animated Bible story company. They sell to families with kids who want to entertain their kids. And I was their director of sales. So we built the sales team. We had about 100 salespeople that worked for me throughout the state. And had 5 different managers that ran those teams. And we were in malls at kiosks. We did some door to door. We also did fair and shows. We'd go out to like state fairs or women's conferences, things like that, and have booths at those. And so that was great as well. And I used a lot of what I learned at Cutco to help grow that piece of Living Scriptures. And at the end of that, Living Scriptures was, I went to the owner and I was like, you're going to have to change how to do this. We're in the malls and people are not, we would give a free DVD to kind of attract people in to come and talk to us about the program, because we had a bunch of movies people could buy and we'd let them buy them monthly. But I was like, people are saying they don't even have DVD players anymore, which seemed crazy to me at the time, but I don't even own a DVD player now. So it wasn't that long later that our DVD player broke and we just never bought another one, And so that changed very quickly and we could see the writing on the wall. I left about a year before they became a full streaming company and got rid of their whole sales force and just didn't have that setup anymore. So, and then that was when I started looking at the option to start my own business. I wasted some money. I lost some money. I tried a couple of different things and spent a ton.
No,
And
no, before you jump over that too much and without putting too much salt in the wound, but I think that there's a lot of people that you're excited, you want to do your own business. And so, there's everything from get rich quick screen or schemes to seminars to just bad ideas to good ideas that the timing's wrong or things that you have to learn with, in quote, stupid tax. In other words, it may be a great idea, may be the right timing, but you don't know enough to actually make it a success. So kind of walk us through what was that when you decided to kind of go out on your own and you burned through some cash and, learn from the mistakes, kind of what did you do or what did you pursue?
Yeah, my job at Living Scriptures was a good job. I made good money. And so we kind of came into this spot feeling fairly confident. We had a bunch of money in savings. We were doing pretty good. We had nice vehicles. We were just in a good place, And I tried an Amazon FBA store. And I know a lot of people who've done really well at Amazon FBA stuff. I just wasn't one of them. I got to the end of it and I was like, holy crap, I did all that work and I think I made $300. Like it just seemed really slow and painful and very small, like very small margins. And you had to do a lot of little work in between. And I just wasn't good at it. So, and then we tried buying a franchise and I just wasn't equipped to do it. It wasn't a good fit for me. And we burned through all of our cash over the period of a year. And it was even at that point, I still felt really confident. I still felt like, okay, we can do something. But I was starting to get really nervous. And I would pick up side jobs. I'm a pretty good salesman. And so I'd pick up jobs selling something here or there. I sold pots and pans for a little while, which played right on my, Cutco background. And I was able to keep us afloat, but it just felt like we were climbing up a gravel hill, 2 steps forward and it'd slide back 3. So, but in that process, I had an interesting idea. In between right before we moved to Las Vegas or from Las Vegas, we were still investing in real estate. My brother-in-law came to me and he said, hey, I want to work for this magazine company. They kind of let you set up magazines in an area and you go out and sell ads. They provide all the content and then you publish this magazine for this community and they'll and then you just make revenue over and above what it costs to produce the publication. And so we launched that and did really well with it until the economy crashed in Las Vegas. And about half of the advertisers that we had called and said, hey, we want to keep advertising, but can we pay you in like 90 days? And we're like, no, we don't have enough money to print this thing without your payment. And then another probably 20% to 30% just closed up and were gone. There was this big hair transplant, I need him now, but this hair transplant doctor there that was our cornerstone advertiser. Like he was on the back of every magazine. He had a prominent spot. He wasn't returning calls. And so I went over to his office and it was like, I looked through the window and it was empty. The whole place was just completely gone. So the economy really took a hit. And so we ended up closing that magazine. And shortly thereafter, I moved up here to Utah. So in that process, at the end of about a year, I talked to my wife and I was like, that magazine would have been really cool if the content was better. It wasn't so cookie cutter. And there's a couple of these companies that do these very cookie cutter type magazines and you just sell ads into them. But I said, North Ogden, which is the community that we live in, doesn't have anything like that. It'd be kind of cool to do that. So that kind of hatched the idea for Connection Publishing, which is my current company. And I went and met with the mayor of North Ogden. It's not a big town, so I was able to get a meeting with the mayor. I didn't know him yet. He actually was attending the same congregation that I attended on Sunday, but he just kind of moved in and I didn't know him. So anyway, I got an appointment with him, went in and presented the idea of doing a magazine similar to what we had done in Las Vegas, but making it personalized to North Ogden. And he loved the idea. And so we started working on it, and he got it approved through city council a few months later, and we were off to the races. So Connection Publishing is a city magazine company, and we have 5 different communities that we work with, that we create magazines for. The first one was North Ogden. Everyone since, they approached us and said, hey, we saw your magazine, can you come do this for us too? And so we've done that for about, this summer will be 7 years. And then we also are a marketing company, so we sell the advertising in the magazine also, but we also do digital marketing, social media, and search marketing. And we're launching a branch of video marketing. So we're actually going to do video production for small businesses, just to help them have the tools that they need to be able to market themselves effectively. And so kind of interesting, because we were out of money. We were feeling like I might have to go get a job again, but then that's when the idea came, and that's when we it kind of, and it didn't take off like a shot. Like, I wish I could say we were like an instant success, but I think the first year we made $18,000 in profit, and the second year we made $17,000 in profit. It got worse. So dang
it.
But from there, yeah, but from there it actually got better and better, and it's a pretty good sized company now. We have 8 employees and about 10 different contractors that help us get the work done that we do. It's definitely not just my wife and I anymore, thank goodness, because we couldn't do it. But
no, I think that's awesome. I like, it is always good to hear, because I think, or when you're saying, hey, first year we didn't do that great, we did, at least you made a profit, which is better than a lot of companies, but not a ton. Second year dipped a little bit, but and I think that's kind of the perception that a lot of people don't understand, or there's a misperception, which is, hey, you have a great idea and you see them today and they're like, well, it's just got always been successful, or been doing great, or they've always got to have been killing it or making lots of money. And 95 or 99 or whatever percent of the time, first few years you're figuring it out, you're struggling, you're not taking much of a paycheck, you're struggling to get by, and you're just trying to figure out the company and how to have it survive and make it long enough that you can hopefully figure out that niche or turn it around. And I kind of love to hear that, just because you read the books, you see the TV shows, you watch the movies, and everybody's an overnight success, and that overnight success comes after lots of years in the making.
it's so true. And and I think also, if you're a growth oriented person and you want to grow your business, like we did, we more than doubled our sales the second year, but we had reinvested it back into the business so much that our profit was a little less, so it's interesting, but that's how it is. It's really expensive to start companies. It's really expensive to grow companies, and you have to work really hard. So that's what we did. I always, people from the outside, I've had people say things like, wow, you've done so amazing at that. And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm just running through a briar patch, just getting scraped up and bumped and injured along the way, but we're just fighting to make it work. And there's been easier times than others, but there's also been some pretty challenging times. So
and I think the other thing that you hit on is, even when you made it to a point where you feel a little bit more stable or a little bit more comfortable, at least for me and most of the other businesses I know, there's still a lot of fear involved. Like you still worry that you're going to go back to that time where any month now is going to just all fall apart. Everything's going to go away and you're going to be back to where you started. And I don't think, no matter, really, maybe when you retire, because I haven't retired yet, so we'll see at that point. But beyond that, I always feel like, even when I've had a good month, the very next month is, well, this is going to be the month, it's all they're finally going to fall apart. So I think it's one that, even as you're continuing to progress, having those first few years keeps you more honest and helps you to appreciate where you started.
Yeah, in fact, at the end of 2022, or at the end of 2022, during the pandemic, we were nervous, and we had some advertisers pull out, and we were really nervous. But everybody kind of stayed. And Utah handled the pandemic better, I think, than a lot of places, because we didn't really lose a lot of business then. And in fact, we grew shortly thereafter and started, really going. We had our best year, the first year of the pandemic, which was kind of crazy. And then the next year was even better. But then in 21, 22, at the beginning of 22, there was a nationwide, worldwide paper shortage. And as a print publication, that really affected us. I couldn't even get the magazines printed. We had paper shortage. We had transportation problems. It was double to transport the publications from the printer to the post office. I was printing in Idaho and in Colorado. I bought a big moving truck. Think of the largest moving truck you can get. They're like almost like a semi, but they're just under what you need to get a CDL. I bought one of those to transport my own stuff because we couldn't get truckers to do it. They were so busy, they couldn't take us on. And if they would, it was double what we were used to paying. And so I bought a truck. And then I found out if you pick up your own product in Colorado, you actually have to pay sales tax on it. And so I had to form a trucking company so I could go pick it up as a trucking company and bring it back and not pay sales tax, because a sales tax on a $20,000 print bill is a lot of money. And so we just fought all during 22. And then I realized, I was like, I am so focused on the bad things that are happening and the frustrating things that are happening that I'm not leading my company and leading my team. And it just I could kind of feel there was like a fog over what we were doing. And so at the end of 2022, we really started diving in and just trying to pivot a little bit. Print costs have gone up about 68%, which is really difficult to make a profit off of when you have your core product go up that much. And so we just started innovating. That's when we started doing digital ad sales, social media, search, all of those things. And then and now adding in video, things like that. Like I just realized that as the leader of the company, I have to innovate. I have to think about what's next. I have to drive for growth. And 2022 was the first year that we didn't grow year over year. We went from we went down about maybe 10%. Some of that was a decision we made because we actually closed an unprofitable publication that we were losing money on. So all of that revenue went away too. So we actually, if the prices hadn't gone up like they did, we would have been much more profitable last year. But even though we went down about 10%. So overall, it's just been, I just learned a key lesson there as a leader is that I can't just focus on the problems. I've got to step up and think about my people, think about how I can serve them the best and help them get the most success and really drive innovation and lead them up the mountain. So
no, and I think that's sometimes easier said than done because, especially when you start out, you do think about the problems because you're the only one that's going to fix them or solve them. And yet as the company evolves, as you continue to progress, you have to take on different roles and take on different views that allow you to continue to lead the company. And so it's one of those that you have to figure out how that transition goes and what it looks like. So love to hear those stories. So now as we've kind of reached a bit of the present day of your journey, it's always a great time to transition to the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I always like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? And what'd you learn from it?
So I actually think buying that franchise that I bought was a bad decision. And the reason is I knew, and in my heart, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had a lot of fear that I wasn't good enough or I wasn't smart enough and I couldn't do it. And so I started looking at franchises. Even though I was not an entrepreneur for my whole career, I was an independent contractor. Most sales positions are an independent contractor, and they talk to you about building your business and about being a business owner, but you're always selling someone else's products, right? And so as I made that transition, the thought of trying to create something all on my own really intimidated me. So I went back to almost being the same thing I was before, which was selling someone else's products. And when I didn't particularly like a product, I didn't have any say over how to change it or how to fix it. Or, in our current business, if I screw something up, it's my fault, right? But I can also fix it. And so we can try to, innovate, we can do other things. And so I didn't have that control. And that was a big mistake for me, not to realize that in my heart, I really needed that entrepreneurial experience of doing my own thing, having my own product, my own company, and you still always need other people, right? In business, you need suppliers, you need all of those things, but that's probably the biggest mistake that I made, was going back to what I was before and thinking it was going to satisfy that need I had, which was deep. Not everybody has that. I understand that. Some people are like, you're crazy for being an entrepreneur, but I
That's what my wife
have
tells
that.
me every time I have a new idea. Not another idea. You've already got too many of them. Stop. But I'm like, but it's fun. Like, I enjoyed it. It's.
You
There is plenty of drawbacks to it. But there's a lot of excitement, a lot of fun to it. So I definitely get that.
So
No, and
it's
I
been
like how you hit on, because I think, and I don't think there's bad things about franchises. A lot of people have been successful at it. A lot of people have done well, but you also have to be self-realistic that if you're looking to do your own thing or have your own control, it is a different way, or franchises don't allow you all the freedom, because you do still have to adhere to what the franchise rules are. And I get it. They're trying to build a brand. They've already figured out their system that works for that business. And if you want to adhere to that system, works great. But I think that, the mistake sometimes you make is, as you said, you kind of get that worry, that fear, and then you pull back. And when you pull back, then you're not really doing what you want to do. You're, kind of doing a pseudo version of it. So I think it's a easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
Yeah.
Second question now that I always ask is, now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
So I think it really depends a lot on who that individual is, what their key is. For me, clearly the lesson I had to learn was that I needed my own product, my own say in things. I just have that independent spirit. I also, I'm not against franchises. Like you said, they can be really good. I bought a Roof Max franchise with my son about a year and a half ago. And so that's great because he doesn't have that desire to have his own product and create everything, but he wanted to have his own independent thing. And so we partnered. He handles the day-to-day business. I help him market it, and I help him, just as a leader, helping him make decisions and things like that. But like, it's a great fit for him. It's great because he's done a really good job at it. He's grown that business really quickly, which has been awesome. So I think it's just knowing who you are, knowing what's important to you, and then being able to pursue it and chase it. We just launched another company that's kind of a break off from the magazines, called whattoeatfordinner.com with a number 4. And that one is a culmination of about 15 years of my wife and I dreaming about having a food blog 15 years ago, and then fast forwarding to today and seeing the changing landscape of the food blog industry. But then also in our magazines, we do recipes every month. For 7 years now, we've put recipes in our magazines and had to think about food on a consistent basis like that. And she's like, see, if we had started a food blog all those years ago, it would have worked out. But we wanted to create something that I always think about, who am I serving, right? And like with Connection Publishing, we serve the cities, we serve our readers, and we serve our advertisers. With What to Eat for Dinner, we're serving busy people who still want to cook at home. And so we give them a meal plan, a food item, a grocery list, so they can itemize and say, okay, this is what I need to make these meals for the week. And they, and then the recipes too. And so it just it's like, who am I serving? Who am I trying to help? And then you go to work trying to figure out a plan to serve them the best way possible, so that they become a fan of yours. They're like, you're awesome. Thank you so much for your help and all the things you do. We love your work, all of those kinds of things. So that would be my advice. Who are you serve? Figure out who you are first, and then figure out who you're serving.
No, and I think that's a great takeaway. And I think that, a lot of times I think that you don't really think about it. I'm the ideal customer. I just had to find more of me, or I'm serving everybody. Everybody's going to want it. And well, yeah, maybe everybody will want it in theory, but you have to find who are the people that you really want to resonate with and who you're going to serve. And then if you can focus in on them, then anybody else on top of that is gravy, so to speak. And great if you can expand and go in different directions later on. But I think that's a great piece of advice and a great takeaway. Well, now as we wrap up, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to order one of your magazines, or they just want to be your next best friend, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
So connectionpublishing.com or connectionpub.com, either one of those goes to the magazine company and advertising company. And what to eat for dinner with the number 4.com. That's just free. Anybody can use that. So they can get a free account there and use the meals and shop with it. If you want to reach out to me directly, ryanspelts.com is my blog. And, that's where I teach and write about marketing and sales and do those kinds of trainings. And that's probably the best way to get me.
Awesome. Well, a lot of great ways to connect. Definitely encourage everybody to reach out, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Ryan, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you the listeners that are out there, you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And last but not least, if you ever need help with your patents, your trademarks, or anything else along your journey, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat. We're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Ryan, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me.